Welcome to another gorgeous day on planet Earth and another day of Dose of Did You Know, where intriguing, inspiring, unique individuals come to talk about love, life, and how it has brought them to where they sit in their seat today. And with me is Jeff. Jeff, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great. You know what's so funny? I was thinking, which I didn't say because I was chatting about Facebook jail earlier, was that the last time you were on the show, you did not have a beard. So you're totally like throwing me off, and it's red. What is up with all these men growing their beards out and they're red? Like my son has a bright red beard, just like yours. I love it.
Well, it's because we just never knew. We've never had a chance to grow your beard when you spend your whole life in the Marine Corps. You just have no. Like, who cares what it looks like at this point? Just grow it out.
Yeah, basically. So I have all these like red, burly, berry men. I love it. I'm thinking I'm kind of getting a thing about like redheads. Like I never back in the day when I was young and thinking the guy I would look like be with. He was always like this tall, blonde, blue-eyed. Not at all what gets my jam going now. Isn't that funny how
Things change.
Totally not. And they would also be like out of this like GQ kind of thing. I'm like, I want someone that like doesn't look like that they look rough and tough and got scruff, and I want wrinkles, and I want them to be like a man's man, like drive a truck. I don't know. Totally not what people think that I would want, like that I would think is attractive. I think they do think that I would have some like GQ kind of like suave and like, nope, I want down and dirty. Maybe ride a horse. I don't want to ride the horse, but I want to watch you do it. I don't know. That's a whole like rabbit hole we don't need to get into. But before we start,
who cares what people think?
Huh?
Who cares what people think?
True. Obviously I don't, because I'm digging what I dig. But before we really start chatting away, or I start chatting away, tell the world a little bit about who Jeff is.
Yeah, so I just officially retired from the Marine Corps August 1st. So it's been 11 days of like the official thing. And of course, I haven't done anything with the Marine Corps in like 5 or 6 months, but it is what it is. But yeah, it feels good to finally to officially just be done. Right? Like I can say I'm retired all day. So I had a lot of plans, especially since the last time we talked. I had a lot of plans on what I was going to do and kind of my foundation of what I was going to do after the Marine Corps, and all that's changed. Obviously, life happens, and we've moved to the mountains of Tennessee. We're up here living life, hanging out. I was consulting with a company while I was active duty, kind of just giving some advice and helping out where I could help. And as of last Monday, the day after I retired officially from the Marine Corps, I became the CEO of that company. So I'm the CEO of Wood Construction Remodeling. We operate in 2 states, 7 cities, and growing. And so that's kind of put the writing on the back burner. It's not done. I'm not going to stop writing. I have a ton of ideas and a ton of plans, but it kind of everything just kind of, life after a huge change like that, you just kind of got to adjust. And I still haven't found my routine. All I know is I have to put something in this beard every day. That's all I focus on. But I'm still trying to find my routine.
Do you have a beard comb? That's important to have a beard.
Yes, I have a beard straightener and everything.
Yeah, I learned that from my son. He does it because he has this big red. I mean oops, wrong way. That was him before, right? Like everyone has that.
Yeah.
And now he's like you. Man, 11 days. I wouldn't even know. It is, but it is what you say about adjusting, right? When there's anything, you have to let things settle. It's, get it all settled in, and then you can start adding things. I think people don't do that. They're just I had these plans, and if I don't continue on this path, then I failed at somehow, or I'm going to be behind, and it's not going to work. And then they just get into this mass chaos of their mind, their body, their heart. They really break themselves.
Yeah, and that's I've been done since May 1st was my retirement ceremony. So since May, I've kind of been doing what I want to do. But I had the conversation with my wife the other day. I still don't realize like I can do whatever I want, like whatever I want to do, but I still kind of like, I don't know if I should do that, or can I drive 500 miles and go out of bounds? Is that allowed? Like you can drive and do whatever it is you want to do, but it's hard to kick that mindset.
Isn't that? Oh, you don't realize how embedded it is. Like, who thinks about the distance that they can drive? It's not a normal American living day to day does not think like, I cross this state line.
Yeah. Well, who do I have to check in with? Like, am I going to get in trouble? Like, no, you can drive wherever you want to drive. And it's all like, and finding a routine, like it was so structured, especially even in I&I, like when my last duty station in Johnson City, even I&I, like it's a little bit less structural. You're kind of on your own. There's only a handful of us there doing stuff, but there's still a structure you create where you get up, you drive to work, you go to the gym, you do your email, like you do that stuff. And now it's kind of like, I have to build this new structure, and I haven't come close to figuring out it. And it also affects you. And I start to see what people talk about when they get out. It affects me in my professional life too, because, as a CEO of a multi-million-dollar, like huge company,
yeah,
there's things that I can do that I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, should I call my CEO and ask him? So like, it's like, no, like figure it out, find a solution to the problem and move on. There's not that structure in place unless you create that structure. And I can see where a lot of these guys and gals have so much trouble just adjusting to like, you control everything about you. Stop living in the past of looking for a direction.
Yeah. I mean, you could call yourself. I'm always like, I need to have a meeting with myself, and we have an internal talk. Yeah. You're like, we as in me. See, do you see how deep this goes? Mm-hmm. So you can start doing that. You can just like call yourself up, have a little conversation, go sit in the closet, talk wherever that meeting zone is, and just do it up. My question is like, how is it translating? Like, with your wife, I always wonder about this, because it's got to be a transition for her too, because you're used to functioning in a certain way. She's used to you functioning in a certain way, which then leads to you two functioning in a certain way. So now it's totally different. I think that's a big thing people don't think of. Like, how is this going to affect my relationship side of it? Are you seeing it different, or is she like, are you bouncing things off of her more? Is she becoming more of a partner in that aspect because you're not checking in with someone else? I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah, it's just and Kelly's always been she's like me. Like we like the Marine Corps, but we're not die hard like going out there and yut all day. Like we're just living our life no matter where we're at. For us, it was like meeting people and doing things, and so adjusting from that isn't too big of a thing. She loves being home. It's her hometown. We're close to family. We're able to go do whatever we want to do with family. But it's definitely been an adjustment because my role is like our HQ is in Nashville. I have offices in North Carolina, but so I work from home now. Like I'm fully remote from home, leading this company from my little. You've seen my Gunny's Lounge on Facebook. Like I'm leading my life down here next to the liquor cabinet and stuff. Living my life. And now she's got accepted into the nursing program, and she's going to school and doing what she's always wanted to do. And it's definitely a hard, like the roles have switched, like I'm home doing as much as I can, and I can never do it as great as she was doing it when I was in the Marine Corps. But I've started to realize that there's a lot where there's stuff you just can't plan for. You don't plan for your kid falling down the stairs and breaking his leg. Like you don't plan for that. It just happens. You're like, oh gosh, what do I do? So yeah, and I found myself being a little like when she started going to work and she got her CNA license and she started like to pursue this nursing dream of hers, and she started working on weekends and stuff, and it just was horrible. Like all I could think about was, I've worked all these years and been gone deployed. We finally got to be with each other as much as we can. And now you're working on weekends. Like life sucks. And then you kind of like, wait a minute. Like how selfish and self-centered mindset is that? Time to buck up, figure it out.
I'm so glad you kind of came to that decision on your own, because many people don't. They're like, I was just listening. I was actually listening to Joel Osteen. Like I was getting ready. I have like my morning whatever routine, and he was talking about that in relationships, how the 30-year-old you is not the same 50-year-old you. And when you're in a relationship, that 30-year-old person or 20-year-old person that you started with is not going to be the same 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years down the road. Their interests, their passions, things like that will change and develop. Or like she had to put her stuff on the back burner, which you do in a relationship, right? One of you is always going to have to sacrifice for the other. You can't both be greedy SOBs. You got to give. And
Yeah,
so to
absolutely.
right, like to
Yeah.
now have the roles change and recognize like this is a role change, and embrace it and love it, and like be so like, I'm sure now you're like, she's happy because she's doing her thing. It's different. You had to adjust, you had to sacrifice a little bit, but how cool is that to now you be able to give her the opportunity to do what she's always wanted to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's a lot easier for me than it was for her. Like, and the last time we talked about Carter and his brain tumor, and he was 2 and all that stuff. Like she controlled and dealt with that entire decade of 20 hours a week of therapies and running back and forth. Like I got the easy part. Like I got the part where we're just hanging out playing Nintendo now. Like but yeah, like I'm super proud of her. I think she's gonna do great, and she's gonna knock it out. And of course, she's got an adjustment. Like you go from taking care of the kids and taking care of Carter, and now you're a full-time student. Like that's an adjustment as well. So yeah, it's just a lot of adjustment for everybody, going from one person wearing a uniform and everybody that's kind of the mindset that's not bred into people, but it's like everyone kind of conforms to the uniform, and I hate that mentality. And that's kind of the push I've done on the shows and stuff that I've been doing lately. Is like, I love being a Marine. Being a Marine 24/7 isn't the highest achievement. Like there's always more you can do. There's more you can accomplish. There's more you can do as a family, and like. I just don't like the ideology of settling for let's all conform to the uniform, and we all need to sacrifice for uniform. The moment we get out of that mindset while you're serving active duty, the less it'll be a challenge from now. Because like I'm telling you, I'm still having a really hard time just trying to like find my mark in the world. Like I'm writing books. I'm the CEO of 2 companies. I got my own company that I've started. I'm doing my own coaching thing, and I still don't feel like it's enough, right? Like I want to open up my own business out in town. Like I'm taking on all these things, and I'm obviously like destroying myself with work, but it's like, it's just not enough. Like I just don't feel like I'm doing enough. And that's just the adjustment part of, and the thing is when you're at active duty, like unless you're deploying, like I know like Somalia 2019, like Afghanistan and stuff back when I was younger, like that's a different mindset. But when you're wearing a uniform and going to work every day, you're really not that busy. It's not like we're out there just doing 20 hours of work every day. Like you're training for something, it happens or it doesn't happen, and then you figure out the next mission.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just hard. It's just hard to adjust and find your mark in the world.
Well, it's like, if you take it like a very simple way of thinking, right? You, for so long, you had to be really good at what you do. And kind of, I feel like in Marines, what you do is kind of life or death. So you better be really good at it, which means you really should conform exactly to that. But how do you conform into your uniform and still hold yourself? Like it's kind of, you almost have to separate it a little bit, right? So you forget yourself, you conform. That's where that conforming comes. But then when that's gone, it's this big hole that you spent 20 something years doing. So, right. So you're trying to fill this hole, except for the hole really is you, like filling it with yourself. And now that part that you kind of had to put on the back burner so that you would be good at your job and you got to bring it back. So it's not out there, right? We're trying to fill this hole with stuff out there, like all these jobs and doing more and serving more, because you're going from the biggest service ever to like feeling like it's not, this service isn't as good. It's not a life or death service. Running two
Yeah.
companies isn't a life or death service. But if you think about it, kind of is, because how many people are relying that you do a kick-ass job, and if you don't, their lives will crumble because they're not going to have a job, their marriages are going to fall apart, they're not going to provide for their children. So in reality, yeah, it's not life or death, but it's a different kind of life or death that you have now filled that space with. It just feels different. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? I feel like I kind of rattled and went in all these different like places, but it makes complete sense in my brain. It's very
Yeah.
strategic in my brain.
It'll buff out.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. If you could get in here, you'd be like, whoa. Completely, I'm totally transitioned. This is great. But yeah, God doesn't let it get out of here. He's like, you keep that right there, Danielle, and just keep giving love. And that's all that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That is it. But well, know when you've put yourself too thin, and then don't do that. Give yourself a little reality check. I do that sometimes, all the time. You have to forcefully say, I'm not doing this for myself. Like when I moved to Arizona, I'm like, I'm not going to do my show. And there's so much, it was just so simple. This is like so tiny compared to what you're going through, or what you're living is. I felt guilty because I was like, there's so many great stories out there. There's so many great people out there. And how selfish of me to feel like I need to go across country and not do it. And I need to move
Yeah.
into a new house and not serve, like letting people, like, that's the most ridiculous, dumb ass thought process ever. But guilt sat on me.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what I've been thinking about lately. Just like, what do I need to do? I need to do something to kind of like, I gotta find a hobby, right? I gotta find a hobby that's not business related, and it's not, I mean, writing is not a hobby no more. It's turned into like, there's this thing I have to achieve because people are expecting a certain thing, and then it starts to kind of like so I went from enjoying the writing stories to now I'm like, okay, I have to do this way. That has to be like, people have to enjoy this. I don't want to let them down. So I gotta find something to where it's just like I need to go buy a boat and learn how to fish, right? Like I'm in mountains of Tennessee. Like, let's go figure it out. Like something to where I can just forget about it. Turn the phone off. Like, sometimes you just want to throw the phone in the lake and call it a day.
Yeah, maybe not throw the phone in the lake. You can leave it in your car in the glove box or something. Might be a better choice. Not so dramatic and drastic. That's definitely one of those things that will turn around and be like, that was a bad choice.
You know how it is.
Spur of the moment. Oh, Jeff, I love you talking so truthful about like this transitional piece about but even that conforming to the uniform and how to help break that, because it's a huge thing. It's with anything you do, whether you're a doctor your whole entire life or whatnot. But I just feel like I always say the military, learn from them, because they're everything like intense high power, like turbocharged. You want to learn how to have a relationship or how to have a relationship fall apart? Watch somebody in the military, because something that takes someone 20 years to do, it's going to take them, 2 years to kind of go through that process. So you speaking out and figuring it out along the way is pretty powerful. So keep doing that. That's a good service.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's definitely, again, to I, like I'm used to all these infantry guys of just, all we do is train for war, go to war, train for war, go to war. Everything revolves around that. And then when I got to this I station, some really cool people that I've met that they have awesome jobs, extremely important. It's just not necessarily getting ready for war. And you start to realize, like, man, these people, like, they're just not ready to get out and go do anything, right? Like I learned long ago after like my third or fourth deployment, like Walmart's not looking for machine gunners to man the parking lots. Like they don't need that, right? So I was like, oh God, what do I got to do to get ready? So when I transition, that I can step into a role that supports my family, because like I'm not getting paid for a while from the Marine Corps. Of course, even though I turned my VA claim in 6 months ago, it's still delayed by 4 months. Like no matter what, like something's going to happen. And a lot of these young Marines just don't know, and I'm sure it's like that for all the services. They just don't know what to do or how to prepare to get out and go to a civilian life. And I do a lot of thinking about that lately of of the company I'm working towards right now called Proven Valor Coaching is just like how to help these young and specifically enlisted people who just, they may not have an education, they may not know where to go, but all they know is they just want to get in there and do their job and do the best they can, and that translates to something, you know. And you can easily go in there and get a degree for free and get certifications for free. Like when I left the Marine Corps, my last 4 years, I don't think I did anything to pertain to my job. I just focused on getting out and everything I could do to prepare myself. So I really, I think we need to get some programs out there that really help these young warfighters learn that there's more than just the uniform. Enjoy the uniform, serve in the uniform, do the best you can in uniform, but it doesn't have to be your entire life. You can write books while wearing a uniform, right? You can do that. It's allowed. It's not against the rules.
Oh man, that's exciting. That is, you're gonna have to send me the link. Is your website up? Is all those? Have you started?
Not yet. So we're still working through. Me and the developers are working through the brand design. I want to do it right. Like I've launched a lot of companies in the last 10 years very quickly. That we grew. We kind of moved to the side. We did our thing. Like I want to do this the right way because I think we could help a lot of people. It doesn't have to be something that you live off of. It just needs to be something that just helps people that to go from one way of life to another and just not be so. In the month of May, I probably spent 3 nights where I actually slept through the night. Everything else is just up all night, stressing out, figuring stuff out. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go?
Yeah. And
once you realize there's an easier way and you just follow that way, like all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you're doing this, now you're doing that. Now you got too much work going on.
Now you've gone, the pendulum has swung.
Yeah.
The other side. All right. Well, when you've got that all figured out and it's strategic and it's ready to launch, let me know so I can share that, because that is an amazing service. And we'll connect, because I might have, people know people, and I'm I'm super big into collaboration. One person's not going to do it, but collectively, super cool stuff can happen, and it's a benefit to everybody involved. So
yeah, let's go for round 3.
Yeah, we'll have that talk another time. So before I let you go to finish up your day in your little dungeon down there in the mountains of Tennessee to keep doing amazing things, in this moment right now, Jeff, what does love mean to you?
Well, that's changed, right? So that's change of what love means to me, because I have never been around family my whole life. It's been, you see somebody, you meet them for 3 years, you move on. You see, it's just been me, Kelly, and the 2 kids just kind of doing our thing.
Yeah.
Just the way it's changed now to where you're around it. I'm telling you, being just in a small community where everybody knows everything is the greatest feeling in the world. Just oh yeah, I know Jimmy down the road. He'll take care of you. Go down there, give him a call. He'll help you out. It's just people actually knowing people for once, that you're not going to say, hey, I'll see you later in 3 years. Just knowing, and that is just, I love that. I just love just being in that community to where everybody knows everybody. It's just, I've never had that in my entire life, just never. And it's crazy. I don't want to leave this for nothing. I don't want to give it up for anything.
Well, don't. Embrace the crap out of it. Embrace your present and keep loving it. And to everybody else out there, remember, as always, love hard, love pure, and love proactive. Until next time, bye-bye.